But like I said, right now, what I think the better opportunity right now are kind of the bullish counter trend ideas. And you can even sort out and filter out kind of some of the not so liquid names. I usually start my research with the most liquid names first, and then if I don't find anything in there, then I might go into somewhat liquid, but I generally will always stay away from symbols that are not liquid because I won't be able to trade options on them. So I generally don't spend a lot of time looking at stocks that I can't trade options on. So looking at kind of, as you can see, there are 60 ideas, right? There are a lot of stocks that are very oversold, with a really poor relative strength that are potential bounce opportunities. And this platform basically helps you identify that. So for example, we actually highlighted in our Monday research CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike opened up the week at 202, and we identified it as a potential bullish opportunity. And just a few days later, the stock's trading at 240 right now. This stock easily, as you can see, this was a $400 stock just a few weeks ago. The fact that it went from 400 to 200 in such a short amount of time is what makes it a candidate for that potential bounce opportunity. Even if it bounces halfway to 300, you still have a good amount of room here to the upside for CrowdStrike to continue to move higher here. I'll take a look at something like Lululemon. We've also highlighted Lululemon recently in our research, trading at a much more reasonable valuation considering this was a $500 stock. At the beginning of the year, now it's trading at roughly 200 or so, 200 and change, 227. It's just starting to move its way up. The goal here with these types of counter trend ideas is to try to capture that turn in the trend as early as possible. And many times we're capturing it within a day or two of the actual turn, right? Like, when investors talk about outperforming, how do you really outperform? You can't outperform following a trend because by definition, if you're following a trend, it means you're already late to the game, right? You're kind of behind the curve a little bit when you're following the trend. The only way you can outperform is by being early to the trend. And that's exactly what bullish counter trend ideas are trying to identify for you, are stocks that are potentially very, very early in the trend, literally at the very beginning of the trend. That's what we're trying to identify, and that buying opportunity so that you have the most favorable risk to reward ratio as possible, right? If you look at Lululemon, even if it resumes back to 300, right? How much risk do I have to take to play, this potential move back up to 300? It's currently trading at 220 to 241 right now. If it goes below 225, I would say I would get out of the trade and move on, right? So that's $15 worth of risk. And then the upside here from 241 to 300 is $60. So we're talking about a risk reward ratio of about 4 to 1. You're not going to find trend following strategies with a 4 to 1 risk to reward ratio. You're only going to find counter trend ideas with those types of risk to reward ratios. Now, counter trend ideas are going to be less successful in terms of number of trades that are profitable than trend following trades, but the risk to reward is far more favorable in counter trend ideas than you do with trend following ideas. And our platform is designed to help you identify both of these. And depending on where we currently sit in a bear market or in a volatile market, you generally may want to skew towards using one type of scan versus others. And I think given the market conditions that we're in right now with the equities selling off pretty heavily, but finding some stabilization, these bullish counter trend ideas are at the moment kind of where we are leaning on finding some of our ideas at the moment. So you can quickly sort through this list and find some of the ideas. This is where we found NVIDIA, where we took a bullish trade here. We've also taken Alphabet position here based on this particular scan. And as you can see, if you look at kind of the stocks with the poor relative strength, there are a lot of different names in here that you might recognize. Look at Pinterest. Pinterest sold off pretty heavily here the past few weeks. This was a $45 stock that's now a $25 stock. Do I think Pinterest is the right opportunity? Not necessarily, but look at some of the other names here that I think AMD is an interesting one, right? You see kind of AMD take a fair amount of market share away from Intel. I think that they're likely going to continue to take market share away from Intel. The fact that it traded to a new 52-week low here, I think is an opportunity for potential buyers to step in here for stocks like AMD, especially if you believe in kind of some of the strength here in terms of AI and the beneficiaries of that, which are the chip stocks like NVIDIA and AMD. Carnival Corp, similar type price action here. This is a $19 stock that's shed, nearly 30% of its value in 2.5 weeks, which is a huge amount of value to shed. Is this going to be a bounce potential here? Up 3.5% when the markets are up less than 2.5%. So you'll see a lot of stocks in this list, that are outperforming the market here. Line Technology is up 5%. You have AMD up 6%, Intel up 7%, Snowflake up 6%. This is the list of stocks that you would want to play for a bounce. Lam Research up 7%, Microchip 7%, Western Digital nearly 5%, Freeport-McMoran 3.8%, Dell 4%. Applied Materials 6.7%, Delta 6.19%. Looking for stocks that are going to bounce faster than the rest of the market, this list is a pretty good starting point to help you identify those stocks. Now, I always tend to use a layer of fundamentals in addition to the technicals to help me filter through some of the technical ideas. But the technical idea list is where I start my research. This is where I kind of look for stocks that are oversold, have that bounce potential. And if I like it from a chart perspective, that's when I'll look at the fundamentals. If I like the fundamentals and I still like it, that's when I'll turn to the options. Now, in this type of market environment, options selling is certainly going to be more favorable. As you can see, the IV rank on stocks like Carnival Cruise, 59%. So relatively high implied volatility, which is why I would use, high implied volatility strategies, such as selling a credit spread or even sometimes selling a straddle if I'm more neutral on a specific security rather than bullish.